welcome back to the Raw Review channel. And guys, we are back again with another amazing review. This time we're doing the Star Wars: The Black Series Imperial Remnant Stormtrooper from the Mandalorian Grogu line. And yeah, like you guys can already see, just like the previous video that we just did, this is part of the, of course, first edition sort of look that they're doing with this first wave of the Mandalorian Grogu sort of like lineup. And to sort of like celebrate that, they released like about 6 or so figures, and this Imperial Remnant Stormtrooper was one of them. So I was really happy to get a hold of this one, and you know, it looks amazing already. I can already tell this is going to be a great video. But looking at the front of the box, we have the Star Wars Black Series logo, of course, this white background instead of the traditional black, this first edition stamp right here, the name of the character and accessory shown in this massive window, the number which falls into the lineup, and the name of the lineup right there. And then on the side of the box, you get this amazing artwork of the Remnant Stormtrooper. On the back, you get a smaller portrait of the character, a description, the number which falls into the line, and a few warnings right there. Here's the side of the box, bottom and top. We'll go ahead and get him out, and we go from there. And here he is out of the packaging, and taking a close look at this Stormtrooper. Guys, he looks really cool. And in a minute, I'm going to do a quick comparison once I'm done reviewing this character with some of the other Stormtroopers I have in my collection, just to see, because I think that there might be a few slight differences that they did with this model. I may be wrong, but just the helmet, which I'll get to in a minute, that's what caught my attention. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start talking about, the helmet. So taking a closer look at the Stormtrooper helmet, of course, it looks fantastic. I like the weathering. Just the overall style of the armor. I like how it's not just like printed there and there, little blotches of, wear and tear, like the Remnant Stormtrooper, which I guess I'll just pull them up right already. See, like that. But I like how this one actually has like legit wear and tear, not just like printed on. So you can definitely see that there is like certain areas that are just like this sandy color, and then there are some pieces of the armor that are still white, and that is really cool. But before I get ahead of myself, just the overall style of the helmet looks fantastic. Besides the look, of course, he does have some decent articulation right here in the head. So here's side to side, back and forward. And real quick, before we move on to like the torso and things like that, I know this is a little bit straightforward or like a little bit quicker than what I usually would do, but I was kind of like going through it and kind of seeing like the features and things like that of the helmet, and I think I found out the reason why this one looks a little bit more different than the previous Stormtroopers. So, yes, I did not break this figure or anything like that. This is intentional. I've never seen this before, but you can actually remove the peg right here at the neck joint. You can even slide off the ammo pouch if you wanted to, but check that out. I was a little bit afraid of doing this because I was like, okay, how do I get the pauldron on? But no, I guess this is a newer sort of like feature they're doing, maybe, which is kind of cool. I kind of dig this, being able to swap with the heads, things like that. And also, check this out. I'm going to try and get it a little bit clearer, but if you guys can see that, he has an unpainted head inside where that joint's at. So that's really cool seeing that they kept that in. And then I guess real quick, you guys can see the neck joint right there, which is pretty crazy to see out and about. Look at that. So that's basically where you get the articulation for this guy. And then there's the little peg that is in his neck. But yeah, I mean, this is really cool. This is something that I've never seen before. especially with reviewing for so many years, things like that on the channel. Um, Never did I picture that the Black Series would get this advanced. But of course, like you guys saw, which I was going to move on to, is he does have the sort of like ammo pouch or bandolier attached right here on the side of his chest. So you just swoop that around the arm, and it goes around the chest, like right there. Um, and I guess since we have his head off, we can already, equipped it. But he does come with a pauldron. So it is a solid black pauldron. That is one of the accessories it comes with. And I'm going to try and attach this as best as I can. Let's see here. This is really cool. Like, honestly, I was not expecting this out of the Black Series ever. And here he is with the pauldron intact, head back on. I am loving this. This is so cool. Getting to see that they really pushed to the limit with this model. And this is just a Stormtrooper. I would love to see this type of design and work put into a figure all the time. And I'm definitely going to be talking about that quite a bit in the overview, but let's head back into what we were doing. So now we are moving on to the torso. And of course, we have gone over the torso a little bit already, especially with these parts like the little ammo pouch right here on the chest. Other than that, the look is incredible. I love the weathering, sort of like wear and tear throughout that armor plating. And yeah, looks really good, especially that pauldron. That pauldron definitely adds a lot more character to the Stormtrooper compared to it just having that plain ammo pouch. I also noticed that the torso itself, the chest plate, is made of a looser plastic, so that's really nice getting to see that because look at that. He has some amazing flexibility, and just the rotation on that ball joint is really good. So side to side, back and forward. Checking out the arms now. Arm does stick out right there. It does go all the way around with ease. The shoulder pad is connected to the shoulder joint. He does have almost like a double elbow and a swivel at the wrist and the hand, of course. Also, again, I'm giving props to it being a pinless joint figure, adding that more realistic sort of look to him. Yeah, Hasbro's winning me back again. The other side as well. Arm sticks out, of course, right there. I'm pretty sure you could get it, all the way around with ease, but due to the pauldron, it kind of goes like about there to the max. Not too bad. Double joint elbow, swivel, and swivel at the wrist at the hand. Check out the waist. Also this. I love the sort of like look that they gave it. With like the weathering effect. But of course he does have that like utility belt right here. And unfortunately, the grenade does not come off. But it would be cool if it did finally. Checking out the leg joints and things like that. He is able to go into a full-on split. He's able to sit down. Legs go back about there. He does have some nice rotation in the sort of like swivel in the thigh. Again, pinless joints right here at the knees. And he is able to go almost into a, or over a kneeling position. And he does have, of course, like the weathering effect throughout the legs, things like that. But the feet do point down, point up, and he does have rock wrinkles. Get some good action poses. And last but not least, we'll go ahead and take a look at his other accessory, which is his blaster. Now, I was going to just go over this and be like it's a traditional, Stormtrooper blaster, things like that. But they surprised me yet again. This one has a much realistic sort of look with the gunmetal coloring. The previous blasters that they've always come with have always been in the deep sort of like true black color, and this time around it comes in a silver sort of like gunmetal color. So there's a very unique variation of the traditional Stormtrooper blaster we've gotten, so that's really cool. And wow, check that out. That blaster adds so much, detail to the figure. Man, I love how the wrists are similar to. I'm trying to remember which Stormtrooper was that I reviewed. I think it was a Stormtrooper or a clone. But anyway, they had like amazing wrist joints. Actually, I remember who it is. It was the Shock Trooper guy from the Bad Batch. These wrist joints are reminding me so much of that figure because check that out. He's actually able to do some really clean aiming poses, things like that. So, yeah, we're definitely be talking quite a bit in this overview. But of course, before we go into the overview, like I did promise at the beginning of this video, let's go ahead and compare the looks and things like that of some of these previous Stormtroopers, being the Remnant Stormtrooper right here from the Mandalorian line, and the Imperial Stormtrooper from the Mandalorian line as well. Now, you guys can probably already tell, but the helmet designs are slightly different variations throughout them. So the Remnant one has a much wider sort of like look to it, and you can easily tell right there. But then you move on to these two in particular, and look at that. These actually have a more truer look compared to the Remnant one. And I don't know, it's weird because they're both this one, the previous Remnant Stormtrooper, and the Imperial Stormtrooper are from the same lineup. Like they're literally, I think, only a few figures away from each other, but they're from the same lineup, probably the same year, and they are completely different. But I think it's cool because that's the reason I put him in the middle. Is it takes pieces of these two and combines it into the best Stormtrooper that we've probably reviewed on the channel so far. The articulation also is pretty much the same. Of course, I didn't put them in similar poses or anything, but it's pretty identical. It's what you're going to be getting throughout these characters. But I will note, I do like how at this certain timeline, they were sort of fidgeting with the articulation, with the clone trooper type of like stormtrooper characters. So I bet that's where this guy is getting those wrist joints. And last but not least is of course the, I guess, weathering look. You can basically tell from right here, but this is what I was talking about. You of course have this. It's not too bad. Don't get me wrong. I love the sort of like really worn wear and tear that they had printed on to the Remnant one. But then you get to the new Imperial Remnant one, and this has a more realistic touch. And I've seen people talk about it being more look that a Tatooine Stormtrooper would have. So, of course, it has like this sandy, sort of like beige color to the colorway of the armor plating. And to me, that is perfect. And now, getting into the overview of the Imperial Remnant Stormtrooper. Yep, hands down, this guy is for sure a 10 out of 10. No questions asked. I believe that this is probably the best Stormtrooper that is out there on the market, and I'll explain again why. Just like I mentioned a few seconds ago, you are basically getting two of these troopers and combining them into probably the best look, the best articulation, and overall Stormtrooper that you could probably get in your collection right now. It's not a big deal as far as the pricing and things like that. And to me, that is something I probably would never have said. But I know Black Series figures are not what they used to be. And I think this explains why. You're getting not just a really awesome army builder type of character, but you can use him in pretty much anything besides Mandalorian. Like I stated before, it's perfect for Tatooine, or maybe you're doing a Scarif sort of like collection. This is also perfect for that as well. But nonetheless, I think honestly, I am putting my foot down, or I guess in this case, my hand down, that this is the best Stormtrooper I have ever reviewed, period. And we reviewed plenty of Stormtroopers throughout this channel. You guys are witnesses to that. We reviewed everything from the red line, the galaxy wave, the orange line. I could go on and on. But when it comes to the newer galaxy wave type of characters, you would expect it to just be rerun after rerun or a reissue, whatever you want to call it. But this guy changes up the game in so many ways. But yeah, I highly recommend that you go out, and I don't even care if it's the original or the first edition, whatever. This guy is definitely on, the number one pick for me as far as with this newer Mandalorian Grogu lineup. Yeah, this was definitely a great figure. And with that said, I think I'm going to end it here. And if you guys enjoyed it, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and follow me for more. And I'll catch you all on the next one.